Shortly after the 2016 election, when we learned more about Russia putting its thumb on the scale to help Donald Trump's campaign, Mr. Connolly and I introduced this legislation to punish and deter foreign interference in an American election. It's simple, going back to 2015 and extending into the future. If a foreign individual or entity is found to have interfered with an American election, they'd be subject to sanctions, freezing any assets on American soil, visa denials to keep them out of the country. The message is clear. If you meddle with an American election from overseas, there are going to be consequences. It seems pretty straightforward to me, but I'm disappointed that our friends on the other side of the aisle have so far not been willing to support the measure. The reason we've been told, and this goes back a few years as well, is that they don't think it should be retroactive. I beg to disagree. I think not enough has been done to hold accountable those who stuck their noses in our elections in 2016. We assess Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election. And let me quote that again, because it's words of the United States intelligence community. Quote, "We assess Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign in 2016 aimed at the U.S. presidential election." Special Counsel Robert Mueller said, quote, "The Russian government interfered in the 2016 presidential election in sweeping and systematic fashion." That's a quote from Special Counsel Robert Mueller. It's true the administration imposed some sanctions, but the response so far simply doesn't fit the crime. And every time the president is pressed on the issue, he shrugs it off. Just look at the way he acted a few weeks ago sitting next to Putin at the G20. He doesn't take the problem seriously. So we have to. To be honest, the notion that we shouldn't punish a foreigner who interfered in our election is bizarre and contrary to the need to keep American elections sacrosanct, because if we don't look backward, if we just let Russia off the hook for what they did in 2016, what's going to stop them or others from trying the same thing again? That's why this bill needs to go back to the last election, not just look into the future. If you're interested in protecting American democracy, if we want to send a message to Putin and his cronies that our elections are sacrosanct, I can't imagine why we'd oppose this bill, because as we get closer and closer to the next election, the American people are going to want to know, did you do everything in your power to make sure our elections are safe? Did you do everything you could to guarantee that the American people are choosing their leaders and not some foreign power picking our leaders? And if we don't move this bill forward, we won't have done enough. We certainly won't have done everything in our power, in my opinion. So I urge my colleagues to vote yes, all of my colleagues. I thank Mr. Connolly for working with me on this measure.